What's going on, guys, and welcome back to our farm. Appreciate you guys joining us today as I sit here in the heat overlooking this freshly groomed field. We got some fresh straw bales here that were just actually taken today. So I thought today would be interesting to share the story of this field, kind of where it was this year, what we had going on, and then some future plans as we continue to expand our homestead here. So if you're interested in what we're about to do with this field as we expand, please stick with us. So we're sitting out here in the westernmost field of our farm. This will be eventually our western pasture. So when we talk about future plans, that's exactly what we're gonna go for here. This field here behind us is a little less than 5 acres. We'll call it 4.5 acres if you include a little section of the woods down on the bottom, which we'll get to here in a second. But what you're looking at right now actually was a field of oats here a couple days ago. And now it's just a field of fresh straw bales that were just done today. So it's not what you think. You know, we're definitely not on that scale where we're commercially farming like this and throwing out some of these large bales. We definitely don't have the equipment to be doing that. However, this is part of our property. And in order to maintain that, you're gonna need to put in some work. So actually what we did in order to not have to worry about this field, we kind of outsourced it. We let a local farmer actually take care of this land for us. A couple years ago, he planted corn, he's planted soybeans here, sorghum, so forth. In the couple years we were here, this year was oats. And that's our way of really maintaining it. That way we don't have to get out here and mow. A field this large is gonna take us several hours to mow. And again, working a normal day job, I just don't have the time to keep up with that myself. So for the last couple of years, this was your traditional monocrop farming. You know, it's not exactly something I'm thrilled about, but it's kind of the trade-off we made to maintain this land. Otherwise, we're just gonna have a messy weed field. And I mean, look at this behind us. It's beautiful, it's clean slate for us to work with. Second piece to this, and probably the most important, is we actually kind of worked out a deal with him this year, being that this was gonna be the last year on the farm. So we actually put in an undersowing of seed that's supposed to be some sort of pasture mix. And if you came over here, 6 weeks ago, I would have said you're nuts. This field was nothing but a field of weeds. Even the oats themselves didn't look that great. And I didn't really want any spraying done on our property, being that we're trying to keep everything as organic and as natural as possible. So the weeds overtook the oats. I would have said there's no chance pasture mix is coming up here. But if you look now, I mean, you can see, maybe not on the camera so much, but it was definitely planted in a row formation. You can see grass coming up. So it looks like we're having the beginning of what we want it to be pasture. Now, as we look around, of course, planes flying over now, as we look around and kind of plan out what we want to do here, really the ultimate goal is to put pasture in, a nice rolling hill. Obviously, this is our western side. We get the sunset over here. It'll be really nice to just have animals right next to our house. Our house is literally right down the hillside here. So it'll be easy to get to, easy access, nice clean lines. We have the fence already. So the plan is either over the winter, as long as the ground's not frozen and we can drive fence posts, the plan is gonna be to either do that over the winter or early next spring, get our fencing perimeter in. It's gonna be the high tensile with the timeless fence posts. And then obviously we're gonna have to have some sort of energizer as well. At any time you're gonna plant a pasture like this, there's obviously things to consider. So first is going to be your fencing. How are you going to set that up? We're actually across the road from any sort of electric supply for us. So now we're going to have to think of, okay, how are we going to run a charge to tensile fencing? Yeah, you could run a different type of fencing, but honestly, you'd go broke running a fence on a pasture this big, running a woven wire or even electric netting. It probably isn't. It's probably just not going to work. Electric netting is going to run a lot smaller for you, 100 to 100 in. I think it's 64 feet. So you'd have a smaller area. You'd always be moving them. It's less secure. So that's just not ideal for an area this big. So tensile is going to be the way to go. but how are you going to charge that? So our electric source is across the street. We're obviously not going to run wires across the road, or we're not going to be able to dig under the road. So you have to kind of really game plan how you're going to do it. And it's most likely going to be solar, just like our other setup, or maybe we'll move our other solar energizer over here and do something more hardwired on the other side. But again, that's something you have to plan. How are you going to get electric to this fence? How are you going to get water? And we're going to head down to the bottom here in a second. We'll show you where our water is. The cool part about this pasture is in the woods, we actually have a creek running through. So water should be really easy for us as long as we plan properly. And then I guess kind of go hand in hand. You have to figure how much land you have and what type of animals you're actually going to run on here. Is your pasture going to be big enough for what you want to get done? Now, in our instance, in our long-term plan, this ideally is going to be cattle pasture. Will it happen next year in 2024? Well, I'm not sure. I really wanted to. Definitely want cows here, but worst case, it's going to be sheep. I shouldn't say worst case. The sheep are awesome for us. And we'll just continue to grow our flock here. We'll continue to kind of expand our sheep operation and go from there until we're ready for cows. But who knows? Maybe cows will be coming. Another reason to maybe just run sheep for a season before the cows is to continue to work on this pasture and really try to reduce the weed pressure before getting cows out here. Not knowing what this mix is going to be here, it might just be better suited for sheep. They're going to eat a lot more variety than that of a cow, so it just might be better from a nutrition standpoint, from a feed supply. Again, I don't want to be getting large animals and then having to overwinter them. You're gonna have a ton of costs, a ton of work as far as actually getting hay and stuff in here. Whether or not you produce it yourself or actually buy it, it's still work, it's still money involved. So the sheep, we put them over here, we can almost guarantee that we're gonna be 100% grass fed from here on out, because now we're gonna have, geez, let's think about it, at least 7-8 acres of pasture. You know, we need a significant amount of sheep to take that down in a year. So it's actually probably a little overkill for sheep, but I'd rather be there. I'd rather have too much food than not enough. And here's a really good shot. You can see grass definitely coming up here. So there's definitely something coming up. It's exciting to see what this is going to become here as fall kind of sets in, and we'll see what kind of weather we get. But I would expect in a couple weeks, and we'll give you updates, I would expect in a few weeks this is going to be pretty nice, and hopefully it's going to set us up pretty well for next spring. Another thing, as we're down here along the bottom now, something we're going to have to consider as well, this is a wide open field, so you're definitely going to have to consider some shade, especially for that of cattle again. The sheep are going to need it too. The sheep don't really like the real hot days like today. I mean, it's 90 degrees right now. It's the evening, so we do have shade here on the western side, but during the day, I mean, this is wide open, so it's either building some cover, which isn't exactly what we want to do. I mean, we do it if we would have to, or incorporating our fence into the tree line a little bit, which is actually what we're going to do down here when we put this fence in. So at the bottom of the pasture here, we're actually going to have a little section of woods that's actually going to descend down into our creek, and then it's going to go straight up onto a ridge line up above. So this is also a really good area that we can incorporate our bottom section of fencing into this shade and actually get them access to water as well. So I'm going to see if I can get in here as our surveillance planes are flying over again. We're going to show you the water. We're going to see kind of what our options are as far as getting water up here, or maybe they just get down to the water. But I'll see if I can get in here now. Just follow where the deer go. Right through this trail. And it leads you to water. Look at that, tracks everywhere. The deer definitely like it down here. Perfect little creek. This creek runs maybe 30 yards off the bottom edge of the field, so should be pretty manageable to be able to get our fencing down in here. We'll just have to clean out a nice clean fence line there, but it's definitely going to provide shade. It should provide plenty of clean water. This stuff flows even through the winter. I mean, it might freeze. I don't really come back here in the winter, so it might freeze over, being it's not running too strong, but I think there's definitely ways to kind of keep it moving here. So as I'm reevaluating this real time, that is our option for water. It's a good one, but I was originally thinking maybe there's a chance of running another ram pump over here. We just don't have enough flow. I'm sure we do during heavy rains, but it's not going to be consistent enough to actually get water up to the pasture if that's what we wanted to do. So the ideal watering hole is going to be down here. Might make it a little bit of a challenge on how we kind of break up our pasture, so certain areas not overgrazed, especially around the watering area. But it's all stuff to think about, you know, all stuff to plan for. Quite frankly, we'll talk about that another day as we continue to develop our plan here, continue to think through what we want to do for this pasture. So that's it for today, guys. It's cooling down out here. It actually feels great right now, and it's just awesome to kind of overlook this field. Again, a few weeks ago, you never would have believed what this looked like. Just an overgrown mess. Really happy to see kind of what turned out here, and thankful that we had somebody able to maintain this for us. And now we're just really excited to plan for it. We're really excited to see what's to come next spring. And we're gonna continue to keep you updated along the way with the progression of this as our plans develop. And it sounds like we might be getting some more sheep, or maybe even more exciting, my daughter's gonna love this one, maybe some cows coming soon. So stay with us, guys. If you like what we're doing, hit that subscribe button for us. Really shows us your support. Give us a good old thumbs up there. Any comments, questions, feel free, drop them in the box below. We'd be happy to answer and engage with you guys out there. And as always, guys, it is hot. Here comes the surveillance camera again. I gotta run. Have a great night, guys. Take care.